Well, hey there, and welcome back to Heimler's History Teachers. In this video, we're going to be talking about what to do after the AP exam is over. And if you're new around here, then welcome. And if you're an AP history teacher, then you might want to get that clicky finger out and hit subscribe because this channel is for you. Okay, let's get into it. Now, for the vast majority of teachers, you have at least a couple of weeks in class after the national AP exam is over. And those few weeks present a unique challenge. And honestly, if somebody gave me ultimate authority over schools with AP classes, I would unilaterally mandate that class time was over after the AP exam. Like, we spend all of this time, all of our energy, all of our stress helping our students perform as well as they possibly can on the national exam. It's like the crescendo of the entire year, and then they do it and they fall down as if dead on their faces, and then it's like, yeah, we've got 2 more weeks left of school. It's like a football team winning the championship, having pushed themselves farther than they ever thought they could push, and then after the last whistle, the stadium erupts and everyone is jumping up and down, and then the team owner comes out and says, hey guys, I've asked the stadium staff to stay a couple more hours so we can get some more practice in. Oh, that is so demoralizing. But alas, that is how it is for us teachers after the exam is over. The big game is complete and the team wants to go home, but no, we have to keep going. So what do we do with that time? And I'm just going to give you some basic categories that I think work well given the circumstances. Side note, I actually think it goes a long way with your students to acknowledge how difficult it is to keep going after the exam is over. And that's for free. Take it for what it's worth. Okay, suggestion number 1, and this is more categorical. Don't do anything heavy. Like, some of you, I'm sure, feel pressure to do something really significant during these last few weeks because, hey, this is education and the youth and the future and all of that. But look, the game is already over. You are free to go a little easier on them and you can have some fun if you can. To that end, suggestion number 2, let them decide what they want to do with the remaining class days. Just give them some broad categories, like say, we've got X number of days left and we have to do something with that time, and I'd prefer it to be something that you're interested in. And it has to be related to our curriculum, but not necessarily tied tightly to it. So how shall we spend our time? Like, what would spark your natural curiosity and make you feel like this work wasn't wasted? Then break them up into groups and have them present their ideas and then have the class vote. The great thing about that is they chose it with your approval, of course, and it feels less like it's being imposed upon. And there's lots of things you can do, but here's some suggestions that I've heard from other teachers throughout the years. Probably the most popular way to spend that time is by watching historically significant movies. And I'm not talking about Schindler's List or Hotel Rwanda, as magnificent as those movies are. See suggestion number 1 about not doing anything too heavy. I actually know a lot of teachers who use Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and talk about the time periods that they visit. If you're a teacher who uses movies, let us know in the comments which ones you use and why. And look, no judgment here about using those more somber films because they are great, but after teaching for quite a few years, I know how students are after the exam, and those might be a little too taxing for them. But hey, it's your classroom, not mine. You do you, boo. And speaking of movies, I happen to think Disney movies are some of the best films to watch in class. I don't care who you are. Everyone loves a Disney movie. Even that kid Nathan in the back of your class who has done nothing but sleep through all your class presentations, even he can feel Ariel's pain and wanting to be part of your world. And I can feel it right now. I'm about to cry. But look, there are so many things you can do with these movies, and I happen to love what Emily Glankler over at Antisocial Studies has done with Disney movies. Like, just watch this.
We need to talk about, where was Prince Eric from? Here's what we know. It's a seaside hereditary monarchy full of white people. He has a sheepdog, a flute, a harpoon, and he turned down the Princess of Glowerhaven. Here's the time frame. The flute was invented in 1830, the modern harpoon in 1854, and steamships really outpaced wooden ships by 1900. So we're looking for something in like the late 19th century. I'm thinking it's got to be Northern Europe because of all the white people, but also the flute was invented in Bavaria, whaling is big in the North Sea, and the sheepdog is from England. My first guess is the Kingdom of Denmark. The reason why I think this could be true is that's where Hans Christian Andersen was from, but the problem is they had a revolution in 1848 that established a constitutional monarchy, and that doesn't seem to go along with the structure we see in The Little Mermaid. Also, does Eric have parents? Because if so, there would be a king and queen of Denmark, and we never hear about them. So I think the answer is somewhere in northern Germany, and here's why. First, they were a bunch of semi-sovereign princedoms, so he could just be the prince without a king or queen. Also, Glowerhaven, haven is the German word for harbor, but the problem is it's a small time window between 1854 when the modern harpoon was invented and 1866 when Otto von Bismarck unifies Germany. So where was Prince Eric from? A northern German principality a decade before Bismarck unified by iron and blood. Ooh, uh-oh.
I think there's a way you could do that, but in reverse. Like, have students watch the movie and then try to find the clues about where this was set and in what time period. You could do this for Aladdin, Mulan, Little Mermaid, dang near any of the movies. And you know what? It's kind of fun. But let's be honest, that's really all it is. It's just fun. There's not really much substance to it. It's more of a parlor trick, which again is fine. Remember, we're just keeping it light. But the next suggestion is something that does have a little more substance to it, but has the same idea. What about taking current events and putting them in their historical context? This is what I do over on my other channel, Retrospect, and if they spend some time doing this, they're going to start to see why we study history at all. And there are plenty of reasons for that, but one of the most important is to have a wise and discerning view of the present. Why are the Israelis and the Palestinians so mad at each other? Why Why is the whole world concerned about the cargo ship getting stuck in the Suez Canal? Like, what's the deal with healthcare in America? If they spend time researching the historical context of these problems, not only will it be interesting, but they'll figure out pretty quickly that everything they just studied in the past year actually means something and is useful to their life in this world. And my last suggestion is more of a community building exercise for the last few days of class, namely toasts and roasts. Now, I've heard of teachers who give their students the opportunity to toast or roast a historical figure, and they can have some fun with that. But I actually like to shift the focus to the kids in the classroom. Like, remember, we all went through this together as a family, as a community. And I give them two options. Number one, they can compose a 1-minute toast to any one person in the class. Second, they can compose a 1-minute roast, but that roast can only have one object, namely me. So they can toast anyone, but they can only roast me. And not surprisingly, about 70% usually end up roasting me. And you know, that's not for everyone. I happen to be very aware of my weaknesses and my strengths as a teacher, and I'm honest with the kids about those things throughout the year. In fact, not a year goes by where I don't have to publicly repent in some form or fashion about late grades or missed emails or whatever. Also, I work very hard to show them throughout the year that I care about them, and so we have some rapport going on. So when they stand up to roast me, they're usually doing it with at least some fondness in their hearts. And I've got thick skin, so you know, I can handle whatever they throw at me. But the reason I do that is because the toasting gives them an opportunity to honor each other and remember that they passed through this year with other people. The roasting gives them a chance to air their grievances in hopefully a funny way and to show that you love them in spite of all your weaknesses. Okay, those are my suggestions. If you have any others that might help your fellow teachers, leave them below in the comments. If you want me to keep making these videos, then subscribe and I shall oblige. Heimler out.